Y'all can say what you want about astrology, but men born in February, March, April, bitches. May, June, July, bitches. August, September, October, bitches. November, December, January, bitches.
This is Everything I Want You to Do 2025 Relationship Edition. Stop wasting your time on coffee dates. If somebody's taking you out for coffee dates, the answer is no, I only do dinner dates. And no, by dinner dates, I don't mean Chipotle. Come on. I want you to have very high standards. Mediocre is not going to cut it. The way you see yourself is how others start to see you. So I don't care. Make a new persona and start living it. Every time you sit in your 2012 car, I want you to imagine that it's a Rolls Royce. I want you to imagine that the engine light is not on. And that is how I want you to carry yourself in the world. Number 2, get selfish. If you have plans in place for doing something, you are not going to cancel your plans for anyone. You are not going to be that person that people can push her on because she'll change it, she'll do it. You will no longer do anything for the greater good. Your focus is only you. If you happen to be a toddler mom like me, what you're going to start doing is giving your partner some work to do. If he's going out on boys' night, you need to plan a girls' night. If he is going to the gym to play basketball, you're going to go get your nails done. You will no longer move your plans for anyone else. Your needs are just as important. Moving on to your friends, I need you to really figure it out. Who are your friends? Who are the people in your corner? And who are the snakes? We're not bringing any snakes into 2025, guys. We're leaving them behind in the past year. 8 more days left. Get your shit together. Okay, bye.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
The funniest part about this video is that she'll probably keep saying the same thing every year because that rich Prince Charming she's waiting for isn't coming. And with that mindset of only dinner, no coffee, and Chipotle is an insult, she's already closing all the doors on herself. She doesn't get that the first date is meant to get to know each other, not to test whether I can afford to pay for your most expensive dish. Women like her don't understand that a first date isn't about impressing. It's about getting to know each other. A coffee is perfect, low commitment, low cost, and if after 15 minutes you realize there's no chemistry, you leave without a problem. But having to sit through an entire dinner with someone you can't stand just because she has standards? That's not having standards. That's wasting everyone's time. But anyway, what do you all think?
Ladies, you must cultivate this if you want to be respected and treated well by a fucking man. This is the best fucking personality trait you can have, okay? Because men will try to put you through a lot of nonsense. You must be a leaver. Fuck you around? Leave. They're not treating you right? Leave. They don't respect you? Leave. They're cheating on you? Leave. You're questioning their love? Leave. You have to be a leaver because these men will fuck you around as long as you let them. And they won't give 2 shits about it until you leave and move the fuck on. And then they'll be like, oh my God, what have I done? Oh no. Yeah, oh no, bitch. Oh fucking no. This day and age of men, being a leaver is the most honorable thing you can be because you're not allowing any fucking bullshit, no nonsense in your life. These men don't need explaining to either. They're a grown man. They know how to treat you. They know how to respect you. They just don't do it because you keep allowing their poor behavior. Leave. Thank you. Love you.
You know that when you're getting to know a woman, it feels like walking on eggshells. If she's already coming in with the mindset of the slightest thing and I'm out, then she might as well stay single from the start. Because imagine this. You, as a man, make a joke. Maybe it's dark humor, maybe a bit sarcastic. And if it doesn't match her style, she's already canceled you. And if a woman leaves you just because of one out-of-place joke, that's not maturity. That's immaturity with an ego. It puts you in a position where you're constantly measuring every word. In the end, those are the same women who demand the world but don't even bring emotional stability to the table. Better for them to go solo, because if you can't handle human error, you're not ready for a real relationship.
Women.
Girls, if he tells you, oh, you fancy, he's cheap. If he tells you, oh, you bougie, he's cheap. If he tells you you're too high maintenance, he's cheap. If he tells you you're so classy, he is also cheap. No, it's not a joke. No, it is not like a teasing tone. I don't care what kind of tone he uses, he is cheap. And he has a problem with how much money you spend, even if it's you spending your hard-earned money, because he is cheap and he feels inferior because you spend money on yourself. Like, how dare you spend money on yourself? And you know what? This is gonna be funny, but I'm gonna get a bunch of guys on this video trying to defend themselves, and they're all cheap. And these are the same guys usually that put $8,000 for a new exhaust on their car, but the second you get your nails done, it's all of a sudden the end of the world and you're spending way too much money. Let me break it down for you. They don't want you to spend your money on yourself. They don't want you to spend his money on yourself because you don't deserve it. They want you to spend your money on him because, wait, turn it back around and you tell him, I will buy you whatever. He'll be okay with that. And what's funny is that these are the same men that call women materialistic. Society nowadays has made being called materialistic such a bad thing. But the thing is, when you think about it, that's what traditionally women looked for in a provider, in a breadwinner. Do you have the house? Do you have the car? Do you have the savings? So let this be a clue for you girls. Anybody who calls you materialistic, anybody calls you fancy, bougie, high maintenance, they don't got any of that. They don't got a house. They don't got a car. They don't have savings. They got nothing. So why are you here? Don't waste your time. These are literally them straight up telling you, I don't have any of the qualities that you're looking for. I can't make my own money. I don't want to spend money on you. I am only here to be your burden. So cute. Anyways, I love you girls. Mwah. Bye.
I just asked myself, what kind of men were you into? Or what kind are you attracting that made you turn out like this? There's no such thing as a stingy man. You're just not the woman he wants to spend his money on. Most of the men she calls providers, the ones who supposedly have everything she's asking for, didn't get there by wasting their money on a woman who only wants to spend it. I've never seen a man with a growth mindset get upset because his wife spends her own money on herself. Most women spend their money on themselves and leave the big expenses to the husband. The thing is, you're a woman with masculine energy, and you attract freeloading men who see you as the one who's going to support them.
An insecure guy will kiss another woman in front of you just to test how much you like him. Insecure men will flirt with other women in front of you and provoke you. He will hurt your feelings and make you cry, and that will be only the beginning. Can you imagine the rest of the connection with a person like that? This is the type of guy they love seeing you broken down because of him. He enjoys seeing how much power he has over you. So stop feeding his ego. Like, their ego feeds out of the reaction they get from other people. They go through the world hurting other women, other people, just so they can get the reaction that they want. These are very sick individuals. Because depending on your reaction, he will measure how much you like him or love him. It's punishment. Insecure men will punish you for liking them, or worse, loving them. Insecure men will make you pay for having power over him, for liking him, and the fact that he likes you. Insecure men deeply, they're so wounded. They can't accept love. They can't receive love, unfortunately. And they don't like when women have power over them. We say, make him pay, sister. You also have the power to make him pay if he wants anything with you. Insecure men are those avoidance or narcissistic, right? They play a lot of games to get your reaction. And depending on your reaction, they can test how invested you are. And then it doesn't even get better, because that is the moment they realize that they can play more games with you. They can manipulate you and play more games with you. So there's no winning with an insecure man. There's no winning. If you find yourself reacting a lot in your relationship, it is time that you stop feeding that parasite with your emotions. Your emotions are sacred, but they're for you only, especially if you notice a pattern.
Well, Go buy yourself a cat and enjoy the wall. Because if your emotions are just for you, then loneliness is what awaits. There's no victory without risk, and I hope it won't be too late for you, because one thing's for sure, the wall is waiting. And as we all know, the wall doesn't forgive.
Okay, this might be a controversial take, but I think women tend to bounce back from breakups and divorces so much quicker than men for a very distinct reason. By nature, women are more emotionally attuned, so when there's something wrong in a relationship, we are typically the ones bringing it up, trying to fix it before the man is. And this was the case for me in my previous marriage as well. For me, it was always trying to fix things and always trying to make things different. And that just wasn't like at the top of his to-do list, and it wasn't like an urgent matter for him. And he thought if I was still there, then everything was still fine. So I got to a point where I knew in my head that the relationship was over long before the relationship actually ended. And to protect myself emotionally, I started shutting myself off so that I couldn't be hurt anymore. So like the last 6 months of my marriage, I was completely emotionally shut off, and I had been so sad, and I had mourned the relationship. So by the time that it ended, I was kind of okay. No, this is not the case for everyone, but I do see this a lot in women when they end relationships. So I can totally see that it would be a different situation if it was the man who left the marriage or relationship and ended things very suddenly, because you don't have that time to kind of process things. But when a relationship is just disintegrating, I think we are like, our brains are actually way ahead of what's happening. And what's really interesting is because we start shutting down and closing ourselves off emotionally from this relationship, there's less arguments because you're less emotionally invested. So the guy ends up thinking everything's just magically getting better and everything's fine. So they end up being the ones that are a lot more shocked when it ends, and are the ones that it might take them longer to recover because it was all a shock to them and they haven't processed anything at this point. Anyways, that's just my situation, but I do think it's a really interesting explanation for why we hear about this situation happening so often. Anyways, I'm Monica. I share my mistakes in love and life so you don't have to make them. Okay, love you, bye.
Hey, bro. What? Oh, my God!
Divorce is tough depending on which side you're on, whether you're the one who filed, which nowadays is about 80% of women, and up to 90% if they're professionals, or the one who got served. When you're the one being served, unlike the one who filed, you don't get much time to process the fact that you're losing your family, your assets, basically the life you built. Meanwhile, the one filing for divorce has already mourned the relationship while still in it. She's had time to prepare, even to hire a lawyer, and to set her plan in motion. So when the moment comes, everything unfolds pretty much how she expected. That's why for men, the first 3 years after a divorce tend to be extremely hard. But men are resilient. By the 3rd year, if he's focused, he usually gets back on his feet and starts rebuilding his life. Meanwhile, statistics show that within those 3 years, many women end up losing even what they took from the divorce and often regret their decision. Brothers, let karma do its job.
I'm 36 and I'm dating in Miami, and let me just tell you, this is crazy out here. So I was on my 5th date with this guy. 5th date with this guy. And he was finally inviting me on his boat. He had talked about his boat a couple of times, like throughout our dating, and he had mentioned a couple times that he has a lot of girls that are friends, which normally would raise a red flag to me. But he was such a gentleman on all the dates. Like, he would pick me up, open the door for me. We would go to nice restaurants, like just a really good guy. Like, no other red flags except for that one thing. Okay, so time for the boat ride, right? Like, I have a bikini and like a cute dress. I wasn't really sure what to expect. Like, he didn't mention any details, so I'd kind of just assumed that it was going to be me and him on the boat. And that was it. Whenever I got on the boat, you guys, no joke, huge boat, 3 stories. He had full staff. Like, he has a chef, a captain, bartenders, like full staff on the boat. So I'm like thinking to myself, like, okay, this looks like there's probably going to be more people. So we get on there. He gets like a drink or whatever, and we're sitting down, we're talking, and I'm not even joking with you right now. My ex's brother from Chicago walks on to the boat. And I'm thinking in my head, oh my fucking God. And I don't think he recognized me because I have blonde hair now. I had I was brunette whenever I knew him. And so he's like, hi, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. We start talking, and then I see it click in his head that he realizes who I am.
Stop it. Get some help.
The guy mentioned several times that he has a lot of female friends, which would normally be a huge red flag. But since he later revealed he owns a boat, we'll let it slide this time. Because let's be honest, having a boat in Miami is no small thing. Besides, let's be real, at 36, she can't exactly afford to be too picky either. Although more than surprise, I think what she really felt was straight-up fear when her ex's brother showed up on the boat. Just imagine the situation. This guy could tell the new man some rumor about her being a gold digger or something like that. But anyway, let's keep going and see how this all turns out.
But he just kind of like played along, thankfully. Next people who walk on the boat are his daughter and his daughter's friend. And she's like 20 years old. I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I'm going to meet his kids. Like, he didn't even give me a heads up. So I meet his daughter. Thank God she's really nice. But I'm kind of like feeling a little bit stressed out. Like, I want to get off of this boat at this point. Then his son gets on the boat with his son's girlfriend. More of his friends get on the boat. And then, so like, there's a couple of couples on the boat. And then these 3 really hot girls get on the boat. No fucking way. And they're like all at the bar talking to him, like surrounding him, and I'm like over talking to his daughter. I'm like, whatever, like there's nothing I can do about it. I might as well just like enjoy my time on the boat and just like step back and be an observer in the situation. So as the boat ride goes on, it's like hot and cold between him and I. He comes up to me and he's like, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, I was just a little bit overwhelmed because I wasn't expecting to like meet your kids or like meet all of your friends on this boat ride. And he was like, oh, did you think it was just gonna be us? And I was like, I just didn't know. And he's like, oh, okay. So then like he took some time like with just me and him, which was nice. But by the end of the boat ride, they're all doing like karaoke, and there is this really hot karaoke girl on the boat ride and like flirting with him. We have dinner on the boat and she sits next to him. You guys, it was so, she's like flirting with him right in front of me. Like she didn't give a fuck. Like she was flirting with him. It was so awkward. And after that, I couldn't do it. I can't see him again. It was just too weird. And I felt like kind of offended over it. And I feel like he should have given me a heads up. So let me know what you think.
It's funny because it's true.
Woman, let's be honest. You're dating a guy who owns a 3-story yacht in Miami. Of course he was going to have options. Like Andrew Tate said, a man gets a boat after years of hard work. A woman just needs to look pretty to get on one. Did you really think all those women weren't going to try to get the owner's attention? It's only logical. They're doing exactly what you probably would have done a few years ago. What happened here is that you thought you had the situation under control until you realized you were just one more of those friends he mentioned from the start. He didn't do anything wrong. On the contrary, he was upfront. Now, the fact that it bothered you to see younger girls openly flirting with him is a different story, but he's simply enjoying the options he has. You can't blame the guy for other women flirting with him. It's part of the deal when you're dating someone successful.
Oh, I'm shaking. I just got home from a date. We were going to an event and dinner. We did not make it to dinner. He just dropped me off at home. I'm back home. I've been gone for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm back home. And I have a friend coming to pick me up right now. I just asked him to take me home. You know the amount of times I have wanted to do that while on a date and I didn't, and I just sat there and grinned and bared it. A guy does something or says something or is something that I just don't jive with, and I stick around because it's the polite thing to do. No more of that, girls. I finally just said, look, I have to be really honest. You just did this thing that is really not my vibe and it's turning me off, and I don't think I can make it to dinner with you. To his credit, he took it really, really well, and he said, okay, I actually completely understand. Thank you for telling me, and let's go ahead and get you home. He also asked me out on another date. What? No. Come here. This guy's happy. Come on.
Woman, you're pushing 40 and still making demands like you're 20. What you need is a reality check. With age comes tolerance. and chances are that guy said something that didn't quite match your mood or expectations. That's normal when you're just getting to know someone, and usually, you give them the benefit of the doubt. The guy handled it like a gentleman. He stayed calm when you turned him down and even asked for a second date, which I highly doubt will actually happen after that kind of rejection. A self-respecting man doesn't chase after a situation like that, especially when the first date didn't even happen. But hey, this is what happens when a woman hits the wall and still refuses to accept her reality. Because let's be honest, the wall doesn't forgive. Let's see what happens with the next woman in denial.
This is my scolding hot take, and you're either going to be ready to hear this or you're not going to be. Women historically have been slaves. I understand there's different forms of slavery, but women, in the true definition of the word, have been enslaved. Marriage was the act of making women property. Marriage was the way of exchanging women as property. Marriage was the property transfer of a woman between her father and her husband. Regardless of how you feel about it, that's the fact. That was the original purpose of marriage as a construct. The reason why you see divorce rates rise is because women finally have agency over whether or not we stay in these marriages. The reason why you're seeing marriage rates and birth rates decline is because for the first time in human history, women have had more agency than we've ever had on whether or not we get married in the first place and whether or not we decide to have children. There is a reason why women have been socially conditioned into believing that if we don't have children, or if we're not married, or a man didn't choose us, that's like the biggest insult to our identity or our value as human beings. I personally disagree with the entire construct of marriage. I believe that marriage signifies the ownership of women, and I disagree with it as a concept as a whole. And if you're not new to my page, you know that I have no intention of ever getting married. I relish in the idea of being single. I do not want to have any children. And I relish in the idea that for the first time, I'm one of the first generations of women who have the freedom to not participate in any of those things. So to me, not only is it not an insult to my identity and does not dictate my worthiness as a human being, it is a privilege that I get to choose not to get married. It is a privilege that I get to choose not to have children. And I believe that as a woman, you should avoid getting married. You should avoid having children. I think if you are even remotely on the fence about any of those concepts, you need to avoid it. Marriage benefits men, and having children benefits the patriarchy. I'm not saying that no one should have children, or that's where it gets kind of like muddy. Like, I think that marriage does have protections for women who do want to have children, or for women who are with a partner who's great. There are legal protections around that marriage works in favor for. But as a general concept, I think marriage represents the enslavement of women.
This is what I call the classic denial phase. When a woman racks up failed relationships and dates that lead nowhere, instead of doing some self-reflection and realizing she might be the problem, she'd rather blame the patriarchy and label marriage as a form of slavery. It's an easy excuse to avoid responsibility and not look inward. The reality is clear. Over 80% of divorces are filed by women. These days, many see marriage not as a stable union, but as a convenient way to fund their lifestyle. While men are still judged by their financial stability, women are judged by beauty, youth, and fertility. Women like this tend to chase the complete package guy, completely ignoring the average man, who, by the way, is the majority. In the end, they end up alone because no one can meet their inflated expectations. And when they hit the wall, they fall into these kinds of narratives, trying to share their frustration. But anyway, let's keep watching and see how this story unfolds.
I think marriage represents, and this is just the way it is. This isn't my opinion. This is what it's been historically. Marriage represents the ownership of property that is women. Marriage is a huge deal, and especially as a woman, if you are at all on the fence about getting married, you need to not get married. Fuck the soft life shit. Fuck the not doing anything with your life. Fuck not making your own money. You need to make your own money. That is a privilege. That is a blessing that you live in a time where you can make your own money and you can make something out of your own life. Do not trade this privilege that women have fought for a G-Wagon or for trips to Erewhon. You are worth so much more than that. Your life is worth so much more than that. You live in a time unlike any other in human history. There are women before you who would have given anything to be able to have the opportunities that you have today. They would have given anything. If you marry a rich man, your life will be controlled by him. Your quality of life is going to be dictated by that man. Your relationship may look a certain way today, but it could be very different 10 years from now. It could be very different after you have 4 of his children. It's not worth the Chanel bags. It's not worth the Cartier bracelets. It's not worth the fancy vacations. This is your one life. This is your independence. This is your autonomy. Please just think very long and hard before you enter these contracts, because getting out of marriage, going through a divorce is a fucking grueling process. Co-parenting with somebody who is being difficult, who is trying to control you, is a all-consuming process. You need to really understand what you're signing up for when you do that. This is not something that you do unless you are absolutely sure. Again, it's super nuanced, and there are legal protections that work in women's favor when it comes to marriage. But if I were to give you any kind of advice, avoid getting married, make your own money, do your own thing with your life. Do not put all your eggs in the basket of a man. Because once you get married and once you have those children, everything is different. You do not have that same freedom anymore. You will not have that same opportunity anymore. You can still make it happen. And there are women who their children are like the best thing. It's like, I totally understand. I respect that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be very hard and it's going to be very different. Being single and childless is a fucking flex. Okay? It is. It's much better than being in a grueling divorce, being in an unhappy marriage, being controlled by a man, or having to co-parent with someone who's fucking crazy. Please just take this seriously. Okay?
Fuck up, you crazy bitch whore!
You see what I'm saying? When you hear something like, being single is a damn luxury, it's clear she still hasn't figured out how life really works. She ignores the fact that times have changed. There are women happily raising kids at home, successful women leading companies, or building empires alongside their partners. Not every woman sees marriage as a prison. Some see it as an opportunity to grow with someone. She also talks as if all married women were happier when they were single. But if that were true, we wouldn't see so many videos of single women crying on social media, popping antidepressants, or going to therapy because they feel their lives have no meaning or direction. Another thing she completely overlooks is that not all single women are living some wildly successful life. Plenty of them literally thank God for finding a man because they were on the edge of poverty. Others are just one illness away from total misery, with no kids or partner to support them. But of course, that part of the story never gets told, because at the end of the day, misery loves company.
Women.
Lured me out of a great marriage is an insane way to say that you cheated on your husband. That's like shooting somebody and being like, "God, you stole my bullet with your face." And then to be shocked that that dude cheated on you later is insane. It's like, oh, no, I thought you would just cheat for me, not on me. It's like, what do you think, you're special? I know you're lying, though, because if you were like, oh, out of a great marriage, it's like it couldn't have been a great marriage if you were in it.
Okay, so I just want to ask this question. Can somebody tell me, how do you get lured out of a great marriage? I just need somebody to answer me that question. Riddle me that, Batman. How can you get lured out of a great marriage? Because if that marriage is great, there ain't no other person on this planet that mean a fucking single thing to me. Not at all. Meaning, if I'm in a great marriage, my wife is my everything. Not everything. Everything. Okay? Move, Jezebel. Move, you scallywag. Move, you hoe. Get out my face. My wife is right there. And my wife will shoot you. And keep it moving. Ain't no, you're not finna sit there and try and gaslight us saying, oh, he lured you out of a great marriage and then cheated on you with somebody else. No, you don't get lured out of a great marriage. You were ready to go and you look for any excuse to leave. And now you got that excuse to leave. Now you're not happy because he cheated on you. Good for him. I got that funny feeling that her husband probably put an X up to it. And she just fell for a hook, line, and sinker. Like a big mouth bass. You see how she look like a big mouth bass on that hook at the lake. Nah, I don't feel sorry for her one single solitary bit. She knew what she was doing. Mm-mm. Accountability is a dress that so many women would never wear. Mm-mm. That ex made your ass giggle just to make them cheeks wiggle. Mm-mm-mm. Try to play victim. Get out of here, scallywag.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
No one cheats because they were forced to. Man or woman, the one who betrays does it because they want it, period. That whole, they pulled me out of a great marriage line is just a cheap excuse to justify a decision you had already made. It wasn't the other person's fault. It was your choice. Don't try to dress up a betrayal like you're some kind of victim of fate. The truth is, with so much cheap dopamine, likes, validation on social media, flirty inbox messages, many end up confusing stability with boredom. A healthy marriage, with routine and commitment, is no longer appreciated. These days, everyone's busy checking if the grass is greener on the other side, without even taking the time to water their own lawn. But of course, there's no accountability, because responsibility is kryptonite for women.
One thing I like about these I'm nothing like you, and I never will be.
I think the song choice is interesting because you act as if that man is the only one who's a cheater. Honey, you cheat on your husband too. You act as if this man hogtied and dragged you out of your happy marriage. No, you went willingly. That's what it looks like when someone refuses to take responsibility and accountability for their own actions. Nobody made you cheat. You wanted to. None of this happened to you. This happened with you, meaning you were an active participant in exactly where you are. You thought you were different. You thought the grass was greener on the other side, but the truth is the grass is greener where you water it. Your marriage was already a good marriage, but you thought you could find better. That man taught you a valuable lesson, and that is if a man will cheat with you, he will cheat on you. You were asking the shirtless man for the shirt off his back. You're asking a cheater for faithfulness. He's allergic to faithfulness, and apparently it's contagious because you're allergic to it too. The fact that you seem like you genuinely believe that you're better than this man is amazing to me because all he did was pull a you on you. There's only one victim in this story, and it's not you.
It's funny because it's true.
This has gotten so out of control that not even feminists can stand it anymore. Something you learn as a man over the years is that when you're alone, you're invisible. But the moment you have a good woman by your side, suddenly your ex shows up, the neighbor, the one who used to ignore you. All of them. Not because they care about you, but because they want to ruin what you've built. And that's exactly what happened here. This woman married a man who gave her stability, a home, and probably the life she used to say she dreamed of. But she had just come out of a relationship with a Chad who had her on an emotional roller coaster. The new guy, a stable provider, gave her peace. And like it often happens, she mistook stability for boredom. Like I always say, if you pick up a frog from the street, no matter how many times you kiss it, it won't turn into a princess. It'll stay a frog from the street. And now karma has arrived. Because what you did to someone else did to you. You asked for loyalty from a disloyal man, thinking you'd be the exception. But now she's out there trying to defend herself and tell her side of the story.
So I think I need to respond to this post, and thank you, Riley, for bringing up. I need a story time because I think it needs a story because I'm sick of explaining it. So I got pregnant when I was 19 years old, okay? And my mom was like, "You're getting married." Actually, yeah. No, I gave birth when I was 19. So I was like 18-ish when I got when I was pregnant. So my mom like forced it upon me. She was like, you're not going to be one of those mothers who are not married and you're on your own on welfare, because she worked for the welfare department. So she was like, my daughter's not going to be one of them. I deal with that on the daily, and you are going to get married. Now, we loved each other. Yes, we were madly in love. We were high school sweethearts. Yeah. So we were just pregnant. We moved in. My mom's like, you're getting married. So we got married. I was 5 months pregnant when I walked down the aisle. Everyone, it was the talk of the town. We're in a big family. Oh my God, she's pregnant. Oh my God. That's why my mom's like, you're getting married. She's not going to be made fun of because her daughter had a baby out of wedlock. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I went with it. I went with it. I was 19. What the fuck was I going to do? And I loved him, like, madly. We were crazy in love with each other. That's why it was a good marriage. We were best friends. So when we got married, he became a bricklayer, okay? So it was a great job in Detroit, and for a long time, I mean, he was building all the buildings downtown, everything like that. We bought a house. We were the only people out of our friends who had a house. Everybody came to our house. It was the party house. We really had a good time. It was a great marriage. It was a great, happy family. Then he started getting laid off all the time because the economy just wasn't what it was. Like, shortly after we got married, I mean, it was like every winter he would get laid off. Every winter, because you can't lay bricks, you can't lay concrete. It's got to be a certain temperature. You know what I mean? So we struggled. We lived paycheck to paycheck every day of our lives. There were always single men all around. All the time there were single men. Every time there was guys that lived across the street. They always flirted. There was always alcohol involved. Everybody was always drinking. Like I said, our house was the party house. So I never did anything, but then there were times like, and I just don't even know. Like, I just don't, that's a whole nother video. We're gonna cut that out, and that'll be another video.
Oh, hell no!
I said it before, and I'll say it again. Cheap dopamine is wreaking havoc. This woman showed signs of disaster from a young age. She said it herself. She got married young, had a good man, a home, but she didn't want to take responsibility. She didn't want to be a mother. She wanted to keep living life without limits, without being accountable to anyone. And of course, there were always men around. Parties, alcohol, constant flirting. At first, according to her, nothing happened. But then, there were moments. We all know what that means. When you live chasing excitement instead of valuing what you have, it's only a matter of time before everything falls apart. Anyway, let's see how this story continues.
I didn't know what it meant to take vows, you guys. I was 19, and I probably was ready to pass out from lack of oxygen because I was standing in a church full of everybody there for me and 5 months pregnant, which I hated my pregnancy. I was miserable. I was not the girl who dreamt of getting married and walking down the aisle. No, I want to run the beach and be free and lay in the sun. That's it. No, I don't want to do anything like family. I don't know. I didn't want to do that. I mean, it wasn't my dream. I did it. And I played face for a long time. So he's always laid off. I have to, like, I'm not educated, so I got to go get educated, right? Like, I always waitress at night. So my husband at the time would go to work bricklaying during the day. Well, that's how it was during the day in the beginning. And then I would go at night when he got home. I would cook dinner and everything. As soon as he would come home, we would switch. And he would stay there with the baby at night, and I would go waitress, and then I'd come home. That went on for a while. Then, like I said, he started getting laid off, so then somebody had to go to work. So time for mama to step up to the plate. So I did. I was like, yeah, bitch, I'm ready. I'm ready to get the fuck out of this house. But then I was going to school. I was working at a hospital, working at the hospital, and clinical hours at the hospital, and bartending at the same time. And he was just staying home, which is fine. We were a team, but I started losing respect. He started, we just really, hey, the dog always wants to drink my coffee. Benny. He's my new man now. That's what I live. I don't have a man. Okay. I live with no man. This is my man. They rule my world. We just broke apart. It was getting bad. And I had resentment. And there was this guy at my new job who would not stop flirting with me. And he was tall, dark, and handsome. And he said all the right things. And it was the new job I was getting into. And he was like the best at that job. And I just watched him and learned from him every day. And I just was enamored by him. And he never left me alone every day. He just was a talker. Like, I mean, my phone was blowing up. He never stopped. It was irresistible. It became irresistible. I was pushing him off of me. But then we went out, all of us as a group, and we drank. And when alcohol's involved, it's not good. That's why I don't drink anymore. Literally the beginning of the end. I think weeks later, my ex-husband found like his receipt in my vehicle and asked who he was. And I think that also he may have started to go into Verizon and start looking at the hundreds and hundreds of text messages that were going on each day between me and the dude. He forgives me. What? He forgive me.
Hell to the no, no. Hell no.
Honestly, the dog kissing her on the mouth was the one detail nobody asked for. But let's get to what really matters. This story confirms what many of us already know. You can be the man who gives it all, who provides for the household, who sacrifices his nights so she can grow. But if things go south financially, you lose the respect of the one who should support you the most. To her, you're no longer a man, you're a burden. And that's why so many men live under constant pressure. They know that if they fall, they'll be left alone. And the usual story follows. Suddenly, there's that coworker who coincidentally says all the things she wants to hear. And since she spends so much time with him, he ends up getting in her head. That line, nothing ever happened, but then there were moments. We've heard it before. The guy didn't find one message, he found hundreds. And she doesn't even show real remorse. She just let herself go until she destroyed what they had built together. But now, let's see what happened to her husband in the end.
So in that time, I literally, like I said, it was the beginning of the end, and I broke down, and it was a very quick downward spiral. I'm lucky that I made it out, never losing my job or, also graduating and just getting through all of the stuff that I got through, because I was in utter turmoil the entire time. I got divorced, and then I moved in with the dude. My son didn't want to live with him. I mean, it was just a whole horrible thing. My son just dropped out of school. It was just, everything went bad when I got divorced, and I should never have. And I was just delusional the whole time. I was completely delusional. I drank so much alcohol. I could not make decisions properly. My family would not interact with me anymore because I was making such wrong decisions. Nobody liked the guy that I was dating. So I had no support. They were just shocked that I left my ex. It's good times, Good times. Good fucking times. No, it was the worst of times, and I don't know how I made it out. It was the grace of God that I made it all out alive. And now I'm way on the other side, and it's crazy because the boyfriend, the guy that I left my husband for, he still literally tries. I literally still had to just block him because he still tries to come into my life. And he lived with a girl. So this is how I know that that's why I can make this fucking video, okay? And say, one thing about me is that I know that I'm never like you. Okay, that's what the fucking video is. Why is everyone flipping out over the video? I went into the comments and they hide these comments, and I approved all of these because I want them to be seen. I want all these comments to be seen. I take accountability. If you look in my follow me or anything, I have a series called Hard Life Lessons Learned. And that's one of them. The grass is not greener on the other side. I've lived and learned. I have learned. Okay, people. I'm not a narcissist. I live alone, and mostly because I decide to, and I am an isolator. I don't like to be around others, but I don't like to date. I don't know. I am alone. So that's what I get, and it is lonely and sad. But what hurt the most out of all of that was my son. And that's why I would have stayed. Okay. Because mothers should, you should give of yourself for your children. And I was only thinking of myself. I was very selfish and drunk and stupid. But now I'm on the other side. Now I'm getting emotional, but there you go, Riley. That's the story.
We could have been a good couple. We could have had something special. But you one crazy ass bitch.
This just reinforces what I always say. When someone cheats on you, don't seek revenge. Just move on, because life always finds a way to settle the score. She said it in her own words. She ruined her life, her relationship with her son, her family, her stability, all because of a decision driven by dopamine and ego. Meanwhile, imagine what that man must have felt, going through a financial crisis, watching his wife betray him, and seeing his whole world fall apart. And the hardest part? While he was losing everything, she was moving in with the other guy, the same one neither her son nor her family wanted anywhere near. But that's how it goes. To the men going through something like this, focus on yourselves. Because time, sooner or later, makes everyone pay what they owe. Now she lives alone, says she doesn't like being with anyone, and worst of all, admits that her son was the one who suffered the most. Brother, like I once said, karma's a bitch, and it charges interest.
It has been nearly 5 months, and I am still dealing with the aftermath of a very abrupt, a very blindsiding, a very cold cutoff of a breakup with someone that I really loved. I just need to say this because I use TikTok as a diary now. It really sucks when you feel like you have worked through a lot of hard things and trauma, and someone comes along and the repercussions of their actions really affect you to a point where you feel like that you're backpedaling with all the work that you've done. Please be mindful of where you are at in your own personal healing journey, because if you take on other people when you still have unhealed wounds, you are bleeding on people who didn't even cut you to begin with.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
Now everything's a trend. Girls crying on TikTok because Chad left them. Since when did filming yourself talking about your ex become therapy? What I see is that many have figured out that crying in front of the camera gets likes, so they jump on the heartbroken girl bandwagon, even if there aren't any real tears. And let's be clear, if you've truly moved on from someone, the last thing you'd want is for them to see you crying online. Those kinds of videos scream, "Look at me, I still miss you," like a public hint hoping someone close to him will tell him. That's not healing. It's emotional marketing with a hidden agenda. What do you guys think?
Yes, all men at some point are rapists.
What?
Most definitely the grandfathers and the older men, the ones that, had 10 kids.
Okay, you just stated that all men are rapists at some point in their lives. But most definitely older men with more kids. I mean, is there a most definitely chart on how someone can be a rapist? Or do you realise that you're talking shit?
You think grandma wanted to just continually do that?
That's your argument. Because no woman ever enjoyed sex, ever. No woman ever wanted kids, lots of them. Or even women wanting to benefit from having kids. I mean, we just chalk it down to all men being rapists. Are you okay?
And what you don't realize is coercion is rape.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's the first sensible thing that you said, but then you said this.
So when you're sitting there and every single man has done this to at least one woman in his life, I'm assuming you've done this on multiple occasions.
So not only are you making an absolute absurd allegation to a commenter that is disagreeing with you, you are claiming that this commenter that disagrees with you is a multiple rapist, whilst at the same time claiming that every man ever has been a rapist. It's the sexism, it's the bigotry, it's the misandry, it's the false accusations. You need help.
That you sit there and go, "Oh, please come on." And she's like, "No, not tonight. No, not tonight. I'm tired. I have a headache, I don't want to." And you continue to coerce her until she says, okay, and then just rolls over and lets you do it. That is considered rape.
Oh, wow. So she's got two things right in a train wreck of a video. But here's the thing. Don't disbelieve that men don't hear this stuff too. You're not much of a man because you don't want to get jiggy with me. You must be gay. If you don't do it, I'll find someone else that will. Coercion happens with men and women, and whoever does it, no matter whether you're a man or a woman, you're a dick, and yes, it's rape. But, as someone who's experienced it myself, I won't just assume that all women are rapists. And no, I've never done anything that this ridiculous lady is claiming, and I assume most men haven't. What an absolutely absurd video.
If a woman in the comments is a mother to a boy, or has a brother or a living father, does she consider those men in her life to be rapists, or that they will be at some point? Because radicalized feminist women like this are the reason men today are afraid to approach unstable women. It leads to women like her having a virulent hatred toward men without any logical reason. I've come to think that the lack of intimacy in some women is messing with their heads. Since no one is doing the job for her, now she accuses men of being rapists, because it's hard for her to believe that a woman can actually enjoy being with her husband. That's why I think it's harmful, brothers, because there's no one keeping these women in check. They hit the wall bitter because the wall doesn't forgive.
Is it seriously that hard for a man to keep his eyes off other women or to stay loyal to his own girl? Because when I tell you I cannot unsee the girls that I found in his phone, I cannot look at this man the same. I don't believe his words when he tells me I'm the most beautiful girl to him. How can you tell me all this but your search history says something? How can you say I'm your type but you're following? They look nothing like me. And then men want to call us insecure for bringing up the problem to them. And then they want to make excuses of why it's not that big of a deal. If you're in a committed relationship, you shouldn't be following all these girls. If you really want to make your partner happy, you shouldn't be liking these posts. When you men send that like, that follow, you are actively showing that woman that you have some type of interest in her. And coming from woman to woman, being a girl's girl, we already know that. We know that like you just sent wasn't a, oh, I like the background. It was a, I like what I'm seeing. If you really love this woman you're with, there should be no excuses. There should be no backing up another female over the woman that you're with.
You might have a point, but there's a phrase I really like. You're not separate from the time you live in. These days, there's no social media platform where you're not bombarded with sexualized content, even if you're not looking for it. You can clean up your algorithm, and it'll still throw curves and bikinis into your feed. Why? Because that's what sells the most, and both men and women fall into it. And of course, they say men are the ones chasing models, but a lot of women are posting their own suggestive content while they're in relationships. If a girl hits 50,000 followers, you already know what's coming. The infamous blue app. It's funny how loyalty is demanded while flirting with half the internet for attention.
Can we talk about the uncomfortable phase post-breakup where the person that either you broke up with or they broke up with you is on your mind 24/7? Truly, from the moment that you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about what that person's doing to the moment you go to bed. And then when you're driving, it's like, oh, you only see the cars that they drive. How does that even work? There were not that many of this particular kind of car on the road before, but now I'm seeing them everywhere. And maybe this is just my obsessive brain, so please tell me if it's just me. But I'll also be like, oh, it's this time. Like, oh, they're going to work. Oh, it's this time. Oh, they're getting off work. Because I know their fucking schedule. And it's also that phase where you like check your phone constantly to see if they have texted you, even though like you have no contact. But you're still like checking your phone, like, what if they reach out? What if? But also you're just adjusting to your phone being quiet. But I think that's one of the weirdest parts of a breakup is then your phone suddenly feels very quiet. I've also been in that phase where like anytime anybody tells a story, it could be about something completely unrelated, and I somehow tie it back to that relationship or my breakup. Like somebody could be talking about going grocery shopping and then I'll be like, oh, but one time we did this with this grocery. Like, I'm pretty sure if you're my friend right now, you probably want to tell me to shut the fuck up. But that is a part of the grieving process. And I do know that as more time goes on, those thoughts get less and less and less. And you think about that person less. And suddenly you don't see their car on the road all the time. And suddenly you're not thinking about their schedule. And suddenly you aren't checking your phone as often. And suddenly your desire or that longing for them to reach out, even though you know that's not what's best for you, you know, like that kind of goes away. And then you kind of start to remember who the fuck you are and why you even ended it in the first place. And you realize, okay, that shook me a little bit, but you know what? I'm better because of it. So if you are in that mess right now, girlfriend, you are not alone. Ride the wave, but make sure you're picking yourself up off the floor the entire time and you aren't stepping backwards in your self-respect or your boundaries. Feel all the feels, but don't act upon it. Do not do anything. Just feel it and know that this will pass.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
This woman is describing is called the confirmation effect, or also known as availability bias. This cognitive bias happens when, once a person focuses on a specific idea or object, they start noticing it more frequently in their surroundings. Which means this woman is still fixated on her ex's life and hasn't moved on. So yeah, better get some therapy, because that Chad clearly left you traumatized.
If you are wondering why you are still heartbroken,
and why you are still grieving that person's absence, I'm about to tell you why it still hurts. Because believe it or not, it's not necessarily their absence that hurts. It's not necessarily they didn't stay that hurts anymore. It's not that they couldn't meet your needs that hurts anymore. Although those certainly are components of the pain, what really is triggering you and what really is keeping the pain from leaving is the fact that they could not see that all you were trying to give them was love. What isn't often talked about is that when we ask for our needs, in some way, it is also us giving that person love, because in asking for our needs to be met, we are saying, if you can meet me halfway with these requests, then I can show up for you in the ways that you need me to as well, to be a good partner for you. And instead we paint needs to be this selfish transactional ask. What is keeping you stuck and hurt is that you cannot accept that what that person couldn't see is that all you were trying to give them was love. What is keeping you heartbroken is that you are assigning those requests and those presentations of love the weight that you perceive to be dictated by that person's decision to walk away. You are not a burden and you are not too much. If all you asked for was your needs to be met and that person could not see that that was also an act of love from your behalf to give 100% as you wanted them to give 100% for it to be an equal reciprocal relationship, you deserve better.
I don't know what kind of relationship she had, but based on how she tells it, it sounds like she gave it her all and painted him as the villain of the story. That he didn't meet her emotional needs, that her love wasn't appreciated. It sounds more like she gave herself completely to someone who never wanted anything serious with her. And we all know that kind of guy. The one who takes her on an emotional roller coaster, who offers no stability or commitment, but still keeps her hooked. The typical Chad. The problem is, many women keep choosing the type of guy who only wants them for one night, instead of going for someone who actually wants to build something real. Then they cry when it doesn't work out, but they didn't even choose someone who was on the same page to begin with.
Ladies, a lot of you are still single because you've become the full package. You've become smart, successful, beautiful, independent women, all the things society has pressured you to be. And ironically, that may have actually become a disadvantage or even a liability for you in dating. And this is for a few reasons. The first is because we as women are hypergamous, which means we like to date men who are on our level or above. And so the more you elevate, the smaller your dating pool becomes. There aren't as many guys you're impressed by. The second reason is you might be operating in your masculine energy because you've had to get to where you're at in life. But the men you are trying to attract prefer women who are in their feminine energy. And the last reason, as a matchmaker, I can tell you this, is a lot of guys claim they want an equal, but really what they want is an asset and a woman who makes them feel masculine. And what makes men feel masculine? Providing. So if you come along and you're all these things, he might think there's nothing I can provide her with that she can't provide herself with. So he's not going to pursue you. And that might make you feel like you're going to have to settle for less or stay single forever. And I don't think you have to do either of those things. You do have solutions. The first is put yourself in environments where you're exposed to higher caliber men. A lot of you aren't doing that. The second is learn to master your feminine energy. And if you don't know where to start, I have a free video linked in my bio. Check it out. Also, maybe think about areas you were willing to compromise on. Is there wiggle room with height? Is there wiggle room with kids? Is there wiggle room with being bald or not? And the last is maybe think about hiring a matchmaker like me or someone who can really set you up with these guys. Follow me for more dating advice and good luck.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Look, from my point of view as a man, it's almost comical to see those groups of women in upscale bars, dressed to the nines, drinking only water while waiting for a millionaire to show up and choose them. In the end, many of them just end up being a one-night companion for guys who are only looking for something quick. And they convince themselves they found that so-called top 10% man. Then comes the collective self-deception. Plus, this idea that they're single because they're the total package or overqualified just sounds absurd to me. It's like telling an unemployed man that he can't get a job because he's overqualified for everything. It's ridiculous, but that narrative sticks, And that's why you see them hitting 30 or older thinking they're too much for any man. The only thing that's really too much is their age and the inflated ego built by a market that sold them a fairy tale with a happy ending that never comes.
Here are 5 things that a high-value woman or highly desired woman should require in order to fully commit to a man. Number 1, that her man be the full provider and provide for her completely. She should not commit to any man who is not the breadwinner in the relationship. Number 2, she should always make sure that not only is he searching for a wife, but that he is also looking to be a husband. A lot of men want women to be these amazing dream wives and dream girls and have all these perfect qualities, but they themselves don't even know what it is to be a husband. They're not prepared to be a husband, and they're not prepared to lead a woman, a family. If you are going to commit fully on a girlfriend level, you definitely want to make sure that he's looking for a wife. And you must only give him 1 year of your time to propose to you. Highly desired women know what they want, and they're not going to wait on anybody to get their act together, to save up to buy a ring. You have 1 year. 1 year. After a year, ladies, time to move on. You do not want to waste your youth on a man who doesn't know what he wants, and you will easily become the placeholder. That's where we see women that are in relationships for 5 years, kids out of wedlock, and everything is just backwards. And now she's just staying because she's wasted so much time. She wants to get something out of it. What is she hoping for? A ring. 1 year leads to 2 years, leads to 3, leads to 4. Cut it off. Number 3, a highly desired, high-value woman is also going to require that she is the only woman in his life. Highly desired women do not tolerate cheating, other women, other options, backup plans. No, baby. I'm not even my dad's second daughter. I come second to nobody. Number 4, a highly desired woman is also going to require that her man must always stick up for her, speak highly of her behind his back, and never let anybody disrespect her. He must be a overall protector. This is stuff that you will be able to see in the dating phases, ladies. So don't think that you have to be in a committed relationship and in a marriage to see it. You'll be able to see it even in the dating phases. What are some things that you require in order to fully commit to a man in a relationship? I want to hear some of your guys' input. Please leave a comment down below. Bye!
To the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no.
This, my friend, is what I call a woman who becomes your financial ruin. The kind of woman who talks about being high value is really just high maintenance. She doesn't help you grow, spends money like there's no tomorrow, and she's the first to walk away when things get tough. And the worst part, she won't do anything for you. Zero loyalty, zero support, just constant demands. The most ironic part is that she's already in her 30s, right in the middle of the wall, and still clinging to those unrealistic standards, thinking she deserves a top 1% man. Later, you'll see her chasing after a beta provider, looking for financial security, because she couldn't find a man willing to put up with that mindset. Brothers, don't be the ATM for these women.
I'm going to share with you guys some of the dating non-negotiables that I had when I was dating. They're pretty strict, but I mean, I was not going to waver because I had a good life without a man, and I was not about to have another life with a man that's worse. Close girlfriends where they say I love you to each other. Go to hell. I do not subscribe to this American bullshit. I'm Middle Eastern. Why are you guys saying I love you to each other, and why are you guys talking all the time? Like, what does this woman have to give you, and what do you have to give to this woman? It's not for me. Expecting me to provide and bear children. Again, you can go to hell. I'm not even explaining that one. Calling me out of my name. If you are going to disrespect me early on, then I can only imagine what you're going to do as time goes on, and I'm not about to stick around to find out. Me having to repeat a boundary several times. Either you're not a fast learner or you're stupid. Either way, you're not for me. Alcoholics that hide themselves as people who like to have fun. Are you drinking to have fun, or are you drinking and having fun? Because I don't need an alcoholic. This is very specific, but the men who played a sport and never went pro, for whatever reason, like, these humans can never get over it, and they're always like, it's their personality. Speaking of personalities, the tortured artist whose like trauma is their personality, I don't care. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to do this whole, like, oh, you're so complex and, like, go to hell. The only complex person is going to be me. Men who make comments about other women's choice of clothing, their bodies, or anything in regards to women's business. Because why are you in it? Men who've repeatedly dated a specific type of woman, and I'm not that type of woman. I don't know if that shit is not going well for you and now you're trying to break the mold, but I'm not about to be the one that you're going to break the mold with. And lastly, men who are obsessed with their male friends. I do not have time to stick around and figure out whether or not you're actually an undercover homosexual. Like, I'm so sorry.
Here we see a single woman at the wall. And just by hearing her say she has a good life without a man and isn't willing to be with another man, it's clear she's deep into the wall. Because as we all know, the wall doesn't forgive. When you see a woman who doesn't even want you to call her something affectionate, like, my love, it's a sign she's fully connected to masculine energy. Personally, I'm not into women with that kind of attitude because it feels like I'm with another man. I like a woman who, even if she's reserved, still carries a feminine energy. Someone who can be strong with the outside world, but soft with her man. A woman like this, with that kind of mindset, believe me, you'll never be able to build something meaningful with her. That's why she says she's living a good single life. It's just that no one can put up with her.
Women.
Ladies, if you are beautiful, smart, and successful, it is my personal and professional opinion as a matchmaker that you will have by far the hardest time in dating, okay? Because you're a unicorn, and those qualities, that's a lethal combination that a lot of men, let's be honest, can't handle. They feel insecure in your presence, not because you try to intimidate them, but because they will fear that you are eventually going to find someone better and leave them. So a lot of them will not commit to women like you because they feel like you're too good for them and they're not going to be able to offer you anything. And they will settle instead for women who are, don't hate me for saying this, but one-dimensional. Okay. Example, like beautiful, but nothing upstairs, or really brainy, but a little more plain Jane, because that makes these men feel more masculine. It makes them feel like they have more control and it's a little bit more safe. Okay. Everyone is risk averse. And so it's a risk thing. They feel like you're high risk. And this is why, by the way, women like Amal Clooney, Paris Hilton, these brilliant powerhouse women, they stay single a long time. They don't get married till like their mid 30s or 40s because the men that they will be attracted to who will be able to handle them, that's a small dating pool. It takes longer to meet those guys. And the women who don't do that, who date down, a lot of times those relationships have resentment and it just crumbles. So I think it's better to wait for the right person, no matter how long it takes, because you know you're a unicorn and you know you're special and you know your worth, and the right person will too. Follow me for more dating tips and good luck.
Stop it. Get some help. Going down that path is exactly how you end up single. First of all, comparing yourself to a spoiled rich girl when you were raised without a father figure is just absurd. Being beautiful, smart, and successful is not an excuse to believe you're some kind of unicorn. What they don't say is that many women like you don't know how to be a partner. You just want an emotional and financial provider who will tolerate your ego. If you pay attention, the women who have long, stable marriages tend to be simple women who bet on a man's potential and build something with him. But what this woman is promoting is the idea of waiting at the finish line for the winner, expecting him to choose her because he'll recognize her value. You know what men see in that? A woman who'll only be an expense, a relationship that smells like emotional debt, and an expensive divorce down the road. It's not fear. It's wisdom.
Please don't make this mistake when you start dating again. You need to ask these questions early on, and remember, the feeling of butterflies can actually be your nervous system telling you that you need to be on alert when you're with that person. If he doesn't want to talk to you about the future and what his goals are, family-wise, business-wise, relationship-wise, he's probably not ready for real commitment. Ask questions like, what are some of the top qualities you look for in a partner? Is it a superficial response that he gives you? So you need to ask him, what is his favorite quality about himself? Is it that he's disciplined, or is he like a free spirit and go with the flow kind of guy? Because that's not a good husband. That's a good time. You need to ask yourself these questions early on so that you save yourself from disappointment. And I want you to remember, always know your worth.
If you start the date asking questions like it's a job interview, you're going to kill the vibe completely. That's why I always go for something simple like grabbing a coffee. It gives you the chance to talk calmly, get to know her interests, and see if there's real chemistry. If she starts digging into your financial future right off the bat, to me, that's a huge red flag. It feels like she's just looking for an ATM instead of showing interest in your passions, your hobbies, or the places you'd love to travel to. When she hits you with a, "Where do you work? How much do you make? How are you going to support a family?" Believe me, that's the perfect recipe to make you want to run from that date. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. What do you think about these women and the advice they give? Have you ever been to one of those places where women usually go looking for high-value men? What's your take on the vibe there? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from The Wall.